Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be discussing a topic that I have discussed in the past. It's variables, and I decided to remaster it to make it a much more understandable version of what I made before, since I've kind of became more fluid in my speech, and also, I have Steam VR now instead of recording on that tiny little VR recording software. Let's get right into it. So here we have all of the variables. It's not all of them, as we've discussed in the past. There is so much more. You can find them all in the palette, usually just by searching up variable, but these are like the main ones that I usually tend to mess with. Integer variable, bool variable, float variable, vector3, player, and rec room object variable, with a very needed chip when it comes to the rec room object variable that we'll be talking about here in a little bit. I would like to start up at the top here with the integer variable. So with essentially all variables in the rec room palette, they kind of work the same way. The left side is what you want it to be, and the right side is what it is. So for example, the right side right now, because I haven't changed the variable, is 0. That's what it is, because I have not changed it yet. This left side is what it could be. So if I wanted to set it to, say, 3, it's not going to change that because it's not yet what it is. It's just what I want it to be. To get it to be what I want it to be, I have to get an exec to come through here, and that's basically anything like a button, trigger volume, anything with an execution port on the right side of the chip. So let's just get button. Sure, we'll do toggle button because I don't know why it's not pulling up right now. Plop that down right there. As you can see on the right side here, there's the pressed. That's a compatible exec port with this one down here. So if I bring that down here, now we have a proper way to set this variable to what I want it to be, which is 3. As you can see, still right now, 0, but as soon as I press the button, it's going to send an input to the left side of the integer variable, and look at that, it is now 3. So essentially the same thing with the bool variable. It's basically just true or false. So right side is what it is, left side is what it could be. I have it set to when it pressed, it's set to false. Something to know about the bool is, unlike the integer where it's all numbers, this is just 2 settings. You either have true or false. Say I want to set it to true. As soon as I press the button, it's going to set it to true. Now something cool you can also do with the bool variable and toggle buttons, just because they're compatible with each other, is you see this is pressed is a bool, so we can actually bring that down here. Every time it's pressed or release, it will set the bool variable to that value. So it's not pressed anymore, it's probably going to be false. Press it down again, true, false. And this is actually also a convenient way to make gates and stuff like that, like opening gates with trigger toggle buttons. So something pretty important to mention is in the insides of the integer variable, there is a certain setting that you can toggle on and off, and that is the cloud function. Essentially, the best way to explain a cloud is, clouds kind of look like brains, if you think about it. That's essentially what a cloud is in Rec Room. It's a brain that stores values. So say you put an integer variable onto cloud mode, it's going to save that integer. So when someone joins the room, leaves the room, it's going to save that for when they come back. Moving back over here, next up we have the float variable, and float variable is pretty similar to the integer variable, except for the fact that along with all positive numbers, it can also be non-whole numbers. So say 0.12. You can do that with a float variable, you can't do that with an int. So same thing as last time, left side is what I want it to be, right side is what it is. Get a execution up in there, so let's Actually, I'm going to drag this down. This is something that you can do with execution ports. Right side of exec always can go to the left side. As long as they're on opposite sides from each other, they can connect. So if I press this down, it's now going to set the float variable to 12. So here we're starting to get into the little bit more complicated side of things. A vector3 variable is basically a position. So where I am right now, where my maker pen is right now, where the camera is right now, where those mountains are right now, those are all positions that are stored in a vector3, and you can save that position using a vector3 variable, and that will essentially make it so it will remember where something was 3 seconds ago as long as you saved it. So I could get a let's just get a get position. Never does what I want it to, does it? Get position. There we go. See, now that position is compatible with a vector3 variable. If I open my wiring menu, you can see vector3 compatible with the vector3. So I'm going to put that over here and bring that up to the player pressed. And then I can simply connect this up with that, and it's going to save my position to that vector3 variable. As you can see right now, it's 0, 0, 0. If I press the button, it's going to set my position to my position wherever I am right now. So the player variable is arguably easiest to me of all of the variables, and that's because it is a very simple value. It's not true or false, it's not numbers, it's just a single player. You can either have it be local player or a inputted player. So if I were to bring this down here, that works. And again, left side is what it could be, right side is what it is. So this is essentially just going to set the variable to be me. So if I do that a couple times, as you can see, the player is now me on this right side here. So finally, we have the Rec Room object variable, and this is a little bit more confusing one, but also kind of in the same range as a player variable, as it is simply just the object that you enter. So the reason I have the to Rec Room object here is because to get the wide range of Rec Room objects in the game, gadgets, stuff like that, so say a trigger volume, you want to put that in the Rec Room object variable, you're going to need this converter first. You can also do this with combatants like AI, goblins, stuff like that. And then when you give an execution, it'll turn what it could be into what it is. Obviously it's not going to work right now, and you're going to notice that because this port is not connected to anything, so this will remain an invalid Rec Room object. But if there was anything connected to it, it would set the Rec Room object variable to what it is. At that moment, my VR decided it was time to give in, so we are going to do the rest of this tutorial on PC. We don't have very much left to cover. Let's get right into it. So coming over here on this wall, we are going to get open our maker pen and just put down an int variable, just to kind of explain some of the insides of this thing. So in here we have the change chip name. Now this is always nice if you're doing rooms with more than one integer, instead of being integer 1, integer 2, which it's what that will be if you don't rename it. You can, name it to what it will be. So if you're doing a cookie clicker, simply you can name that to cookies. Also down here, what we talked about earlier, the cloud variable is right here. Synced, kind of, the best way to explain it is instead of working on one device, so for example, if I had 2 players in that room, when I was changing the int variable to a 3 at the beginning of the tutorial, that other player's integer variable would not change just because variables run locally unless it is synced. So if you put synced, every single player in the room will have that change. So if there was multiple players in the room and I press that button, it's going to affect every single one of the players' variables because it's synced. Other than that, change the value of the int variable. Most variables have this. The int, bool, and float variable are the main ones that have this, and you can just come right in here and change it. Now's a good time to show you. You can even put point, so you can even you have to do whole numbers with the int variable. It will not accept anything else. Very down at the bottom, you can also change the chip color, but that doesn't really do anything. So there we go. That is your in-depth int coverage. Hello everyone. Sorry the video was sort of a little bit messy because of that VR thing happening. I'll be sure to get that worked out for us in the next tutorial here. We're coming up really close to 100 subscribers. I'd really appreciate, subscribe, like, comment if you have any questions. As I've said in the past, I may be doing something with the subscribers in my 100 subscriber special. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure you're subscribed. Comment down below if you're interested, and I will see you guys in the next one.